All right, so we're going into more animation detail. So last time we did a head turn, cool little animation with head turn. And this time we're kind of abstracting the motion of that head turn. And if you didn't see that one, just watch the episode before this. But we're abstracting the motion into timing and spacing. And then I am trying to prove to you guys that you can take that. This was the original head turn we did. You can see that here. But I am trying to prove to you guys that you can take space and time and then apply it to other paths. So you can apply it to different curve, a sharp curve, a smooth one, a sharp one, a little one. And then you can use that as a guide to animate anything. And that is a big statement, right? So I'm going to prove it to you guys. So in this episode, we're going to do a baseball throw, and then we'll do some other ones. But for now, we're going to use this smooth one for our baseball throw. So let's cut this out. And what we did is we used this top one from our head turn as the basic idea to add 8 drawings in here. So we get the first drawing, the first keyframe, that's why it's got K. The last keyframe, this is on frame 8 or drawing 8. So there, we got a breakdown, that's a D, B, D, 5, because the breakdown's on frame 5. And then we had some extra frames, some 5 frames for in between. So we stacked them at the beginning, and then a few at the end as a cushion. So it goes slow, it snaps, and then it cushions down to a stop, okay? So we're going to take this one, and we're going to make this motion happen. All right, so first things first, let's grab that and paste it. So that is our guide for what we're going to do now. Let's make it blue because I like my guides to be blue for whatever reason. And this is going to be what we're going to use as the motion path for what we're doing, okay? So first things first, we need to have this is our guide up here. I'm just going to keep that up here clean and on its own just so we can see it, but I'm also going to copy it. And I'm going to make a large version because I just want it to be easy for everyone to see. So I'm just going to make a nice large version of this, and we're going to actually draw here in this big version. Okay? So let's just drop that to our guide. So here is our nice tick guide, and because we already have a nice graph of that up here, I'm just going to erase here and just use the tick marks for my location because I have my timing up above. That's a nice easy way to do this, by the way. Put your timing, keep it visible. I often put it on a piece of paper and keep it in front of me. But lately, because I'm working digitally, if I'm working on paper, I'll just have it on a piece of paper. But if I'm working digitally, it's really nice to just have this available on a layer so I can toggle it on and off. So here is our drawing layer. And then you can see we have 8 drawings in our baseball throw, which are the same as in our head turn. We have 1 key, the keys are in red, and then a second key on 8. Then 5 is a breakdown, breakdowns are in blue, and then we have these in-between drawings. Okay, so let's start with the keys because those are the most important. Those are our extreme motions. And what we're gonna draw with today is just an arm. We can draw the rest of the character later, but we're basically gonna use a, let's make a little model sheet. So we're going to draw an arm, which is going to be a big ball for the shoulder, a smaller ball for the elbow, and an even smaller ball for the wrist. So we have kind of a cone here, if you think about that. We have another cone here. And then for the hand, we're just going to draw basically a box, all right? And then we're going to need fingers. So the thumb comes off here. So we can just do something simple like that. And then we can draw 5 fingers if we want. We can draw a mitten. We can simplify this down to a mitten just for animation purposes. So I can just do 1 finger and a mitten. And then later, if you wanted to, you could break that up and you know, put the pinky in there. But for now, let's just draw a very simplified arm so that we can animate the motion and be very clear about what we're animating. And then later you can go in and put in details and add crinkles and stuff like that. But don't worry about that stuff right now. And it's kind of weird if you haven't done much animation to think about like tearing emotion away from the actual thing you're drawing, but that's exactly what you do when you animate. You do not want to be worrying about anatomy and construction at the same time you're worrying about motion, because they're 2 very different and very difficult things to handle. So you want to focus on them, get one right, then build on it, okay? So that's why we do this. That's why we build a battle plan by making this chart and this graph. That's how we plan. And that really does help. So, all right, now there's two things right as we're getting started that I need to address. So first of all, we wanted to copy our chart into here. So we needed the keys at the beginning and the end. We needed the breakdown a little bit to the left of the middle, and we needed to stack 3 over here and 2 over here. Thing is though, this chart has a curve. So we need to get motion into these extreme areas, or else you won't see that this curve is here, right? If we draw here and we draw here, but we skip all this area, then you're not going to know that there was that curve in there. So to know that there's a curve in there, to show that, usually you need to put a drawing in there. But that being said, this is our timing. So how do we get around that? Like if I was timing it out to this curve, I could put a frame here and put a frame here. And that would make sure that there's a drawing here and there's a drawing here, and therefore you know, okay, that it went down this curve. But here's the thing. That's not the only way to do it, because in this case, this is the correct timing for where these frames should be. So I want to show this curve, but I don't want to change the timing. So if I add a frame here and I add a frame here, now it's going to slow down here, and I don't want this because I want a big snap at the beginning and then I want a cushion at the end, right? So how are we going to handle that? This is where those blur frames or those distortion frames can really come in handy, because you're drawing the path of your motion. You know where the stuff needs to go, whether that's like a baseball. In this case, it's going to be an arm throwing a baseball. You know where that needs to go. So we can actually draw the shape of what we're drawing, like going around this curve. So in the frame going into this curve, we can start to kind of lead into that. And then the frame going past, we'll do like a ghost trail that indicates where it just took, what path it just took. And that's how you can get around actually having to place a frame there. You don't have to do that. You do want to indicate it though. So in this frame here, we're going to put a big like ghost trail on there. We're going to draw it such that you know, and then this frame also, we're going to kind of foreshadow it by kind of giving it this little bend here. You don't have to cover every part of the curve too, just enough that you indicate, like you can see from this shape and this shape, you can see that it took a path that you wouldn't know that it took unless I drew it for you. So I drew this to give you that information. So when we remove this curve and you just see the motion, you'll be like, oh, look at that. It just like went around the bend and did this cool curve. Okay. So first, my drawings, my one extreme drawing here is going to be the wind up, right? Or like holding the ball before the throw. Let's say it's a pitch or something. And then here is where the hand is going to like release the ball and it's going to chuck the ball. Okay. Now this point, this dot on the map, what is that going to be? So because this is an arm, there's a couple of joints. This is the shoulder, this is the elbow, this is the wrist, right? And each of these actually have their own motion paths that they follow. So we're going to focus on the wrist because that's kind of the snappy part that I want people to really see. That's the part that's going to release the ball. So I'm just going to focus on kind of the wrist, or maybe even like the center of the hand. So I'm going to focus on this part. And then these actually have their own trails, and we can talk about that. But so let's focus on the hand first. So here the hand's going to be, it's just kind of like a box, and here we have the mitten, but it's in a fist, it's curled over, and the finger, because it's and this is away from us right now, so the thumb's on this side, right? It's holding a ball. So there's the ball in there. Okay, and remember, keep it loose. So that's my hand holding the ball for my start pose. And then let's think about a kind of a shoulder and stuff that would go with that. So he's holding it pretty high. So let's say he's gonna like kind of wind up. So he's got, and again, remember, we've got little wrist, bigger elbow, bigger shoulder. So his shoulder coming from here, there's the cone, there's another cone going into the wrist. So here you go. He's kind of holding it in this little weird crunch pose. Okay, so we're going to draw something like that. That's kind of how I want to start. So let's go to our actual frame one and draw that. Okay, so key number one, let's draw it. So we got centered on this little tick mark here. We got our hand holding a ball. We got the fingers curling around because it's holding the ball. We got maybe this single finger up in the air, something like that. Nah, it's curled around, so you can't see the thumb because it's all curled around here. We have the wrist, circle, and then we have his elbow. In fact, let's come down a little bit more with the elbow, and then we have the shoulder, okay? So we have this cone here, and we have this cone here. All right, now I'm not going to worry about musculature and how this is bulging because I can do that later. I don't need to worry about deltoids right now. What I need to worry about now is motion, okay? So I'm not going to do that stuff. I'm going to keep this in what is called a construction phase. So it's just going to be the construction, very simple. We're not going to worry about brush style and all that stuff. That comes in another phase, and this is the thing about animation. You have to build it in phases. So right now we're focusing on motion. Okay, so here's the shoulder, here's the elbow, here is the wrist, and then kind of the hand. All right, so frame 8. I'm not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is animation, so we want to define the most extreme things first, and then go from there. So we're going to go to frame 8. So on 8, we're going to have the hand all the way extended, right? We're going to have the fingers going out, the thumb going out, and the index finger, you know, kind of pointing. And bam, this is a throw, right? So the ball has already left the hand and pew, it's out of here, all right? So at this point, the ball is already gone, so we can even draw it there. Okay, so there's our hand, here's our wrist. We know that we need the elbow, and we need the shoulder, and this should be a throw, so it's like, there it goes. So I'm gonna actually do like this maybe. Yeah, like a big nice throw. So there's the shoulder, there's the elbow, shoulder to elbow, good. Maybe a little bit meatier there. And then elbow to, and again, keep it loose. You can always redraw a drawing to be tighter, but it's really difficult to fix motion once you've set it down. So just make sure that you are drawing nice drawings on top of, you know, rough drawings where they should be, and then you won't have to worry about it. You know, you can spend more time on the fine drawing. Okay, so there we go. So we got that, and then we got this one on key 1. We got key 1, kind of come back here, and then by the end of it, we've got this big throw, okay? And you know, by the way, I'm not completely decided on this. Maybe the throw should be like this. You know, maybe the throw should be up here, but I'm just trying to keep this loose. So that could be the throw, but let's try it here first and see what we can get. Okay, so in fact, so we're coming around and bam, throwing. So yeah, I think I might want to do that actually right away. Let's fix it. So we're going to change that. So we'll go here to here, here to here. We're going to do more of a big throw from up top. Okay, so there. So that's our throw now. And a lot of this is, you know, you gotta draw and you gotta redraw and you gotta plan this stuff and see what works. So all right, so there, so boom. So now we can play this, see what I got. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, now right now it looks like he's pushing the ball out. I don't want that. So in the middle here, we have to make sure that he snaps up. Okay, so he's crunching here, he's tossing here. In the middle, we need a breakdown, and this breakdown is really important because he's about to go into the curve. He's also winding up and getting ready for a big throw, and he's coming out of this sort of weird crunch position, okay? So I don't want to just draw halfway in between those two. I do not want to do that. Instead, what I want to do is I want to think his hand is here, we know that, but he's in the middle of a wind up for a big throw. So really what I need to do is I need to get the hand in a position where he's pulled back, right? He's got his hand here. He's got his fingers here. He's got his ball here. And you can do subtle things. So this curve is about to happen, right? So it hasn't happened yet, but I can foreshadow it a little bit by just making the ball sort of, it's moving towards there, right? So you'll feel that more than see it. So he's got his wrist here, and then he was all crunched up here, and here he's going out. So what I want to do here is I want to think like a big wind up. So maybe he's like this, you know, where his shoulder is like there, and he's like, yeah. Or maybe his shoulder's here now, and he's like wound up that way. That feels way better to me. And even better, now we can put the shoulder on the path, which is going to be even like more, it's going to show that kind of path movement. So yeah, I like that. So let's do something like this, you know, where he's like really wound up. Let's go even more extreme. So he's like really going this way, and then you'll get a big pop when we go that way. The other thing you could do is I could put the hand going down, and I could even come up here with the shoulder. Boom, and then I get a pop. What about that? Boom. Boom. That's a hard sell, but it could work. Boom. That's almost like a submariner pitch. Well, let's try down, like I said, and then here's shoulders here. So see what I'm doing? I'm just scrolling through this to see, like, does that feel right? So he's coming here, he comes around, and then boom. I think that's probably better for our purposes, so we'll do this, but I want it to be more extreme. So I don't want straight angle here, straight angle here. I want like extreme angle here, extreme angle here. So I'm gonna go that, and then I'm gonna go like his shoulders up here, his elbows here. I'm thinking about motion more than anatomy, but I am still thinking a bit about anatomy. You can stretch things, you can tweak things. You don't have to be exact. Like this bone is now twice as long as it used to be, but I'm thinking about the motion more. So let's see. So he goes, so that's okay. Boom, boom. Okay, there's a couple things I want to tweak. First of all, I like this, but I just want it to be a little bit more like fluid. So less sharp. So let's see. Yeah, let's try this. Okay, so let's put his shoulder there. His elbow here. Let's draw his arm coming around there. Good. And then here. Good. All right. But this, let's change a little bit. His hand, I kind of don't like what's happening with his hand. So his hand is still centered around this tick mark, but let's make his hand kind of more like out, right? So like here's the ball he's holding. So maybe he's holding it like this. And then his thumb is here, so he's got his thumb around it like that. And he's got his fingers around it, so there's his index finger. Here's the other 4 fingers just drawn into a paddle. So now you can kind of see, I'm just erasing this out roughly. So he's holding it like this, right? Now he's like bending his wrist back, and you can see he's coming up this way. So his hand is like snapping back as he goes. So he's like, snap back, bam. That's right, boom. Boom, starting to see that, starting to feel it. Might need to tweak it, especially where the elbow and the shoulder are. Like this is a hard sell because from here to here, that shoulder is moving straight down, which is a little tough, but I like this drawing. I probably might change this one. See what I'm saying with this? Okay, so we're gonna go from here to here to here. Let's go through with this. So now what we need to do is we need to think about our in-betweens. All right, so this to here is big. But then the next most important one is this one here, number 6. Because right after the breakdown, we get to that. And if we don't get this right, we're not going to get this, we're not going to see this path here. We're not going to see that curve unless we do this frame right. So let's do it right. So he's holding it back, and you can see the palm of his hand. Here you see the side of his hand. So here, maybe the back of his hand, perhaps, right? So let's do like that. And then he's got his ball here. You've got your finger coming over here and the mitten coming over here. You got the thumb here. So let's just look at that. So here, 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 not bad, okay? And then, so his wrist is behind that. So his hand is like kind of pointing towards us right now. Okay, so his wrist is behind that, and then we have to think about how do we describe this arc, and also how do we get his shoulder from up there and his elbow down to going straight and his elbow up. So I'm going to just try something. I'm not going to say that it's going to work perfectly. I'm just going to try it. Let's try it like this, right? Because he's going to be snapping it. So he's like kind of submarinering it. Boom. Almost like a submariner throw. So let's try that. So he's going to have his elbow in here, come down there, come down here, right? And let's see if we can do that. Boom. Boom. So that's tough. That's a tough sell. I think we're gonna have to drop his elbow, drop his shoulder. So let's drop his shoulder down to here. Kill that. And a lot of this is searching, man. You got to find this stuff. You got to find the part that feels right. So we go boom, boom, boom. So that's better. That's better. But you can see his shoulder isn't really moving. So I kind of want his shoulder to go back a little bit to there. So let's kill that. Let's bring this right. Good. Okay. And then boom, boom, boom. His elbow is moving a lot, but it's not so bad. You know, I might move this down a tad, but again, this is stuff that you just play with. Okay, now the last thing I want to do is we want this curve thing, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to blur his hand. So I'm going to take his hand and actually blur it out like that. So I'm going to actually draw his hand as if his fingers were sort of just whipping in front of us so fast that they turn into a motion blur. So that's his index finger now, and this is his finger paddle, and then the ball will blur out too. So the ball will be like that in his hand. Maybe even his thumb too is gonna blur out like this. So you can see that this doesn't really look like a hand anymore per se, but it is a hand that we've like distorted and abstracted and then pulled it across our faces so fast that it's like blurring. So now if I look at this, there you can see his hand is really snapping. Boom. And this is totally a submariner throw now. It's not an overhand throw. So I guess that's just what we're going with. He's like coming around, bam. All right. So let's try that. So boom, bam. All right, now let's play that. Bam, 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 bam. And that's starting to feel cool. And I wasn't planning to do a submariner throw when I started, but it's kind of cool now, and I'm going to stick with it because that's rad, right? So this is one of those things where you can find stuff when you're looking, when you're not dead set on something, you can find cool things. Okay, so that's important, that's important. So now we've got one more drawing here. We might as well finish up, which is going to ease between this and then this, the finished drawing. So there's actually a big motion here in the shoulders. The hand not as much, but the hand is slowing down. So instead of having a big blur kind of distorted view here, we're not really going to distort so much. We're going to kind of come back to rest so we can show this. There's a little onion skin button down here. You can hit this, and that's kind of helpful. Sometimes it shows you drawings from here to there that you're going. So it's not going to be as distorted as this. And it is going to be maybe a little bit more distorted than that. And then also you got to see that the elbow is rising up from here to here, and then the shoulder is going down. So all that stuff you got to keep in your head. It's tough. You know, you got to concentrate when you're animating. So the shoulder's coming down, but we're going to focus on the hand because the hand's where our line is. So all that is where we should focus first, and then we draw the elbow. So hand is like this coming around. All right, so coming around here, we got the ball in there. We have his finger on there. We have the kind of the paddle, which is the other four fingers here. We have the thumb around the ball, just like that. Cool. So that is his hand, his wrist being back here. Again, the hand pointing towards us. And you can see, bam, and then all that blur is gone, and then boom, it releases. So we can come in here like boom, because I want his fingers to just sort of flick out at the end. He releases that ball. But this is right before ball release, so I think we can do something. Don't take that out of context. That's a weird phrase. So I think we can do something cool where we like show the ball and put the fingers like it's about to let go, you know? So there's his, there we go. That's kind of cool, right? So now he's got like this letting go thing. All right, and then boom, throws the ball. So that's good. Now we just got to think about the wrist and the elbow. So again, elbow is going up, and don't try to split the difference. So here, that's one, here, that's one, the middle is here, right? Don't do that. Don't worry about the middle exactly. Just make sure it's in between those two somewhere. So we're gonna say that it has like an arc, so it goes from here to here. Let's put it here, closer to this side. So there's our elbow. And then let's locate the shoulder. We got a shoulder there, we got a shoulder here coming down. So let's say it's coming around like this. So let's put it again like here, right? So now he's kind of coming over, and you can kind of see what the anatomy should be just based on this path for his arm, right? So he's got kind of coming around here, and he's obviously twisting his arm over for that submarine pitch. So there's going to be muscles twisting and kind of turning over like this. So once you get to the anatomy part, you can, you know, draw these muscles sort of bulging in the right places. But right now, just the construction, don't worry about that. So boom, boom, boom. So that looks pretty good, right? So onion skin off, and let's just preview that. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, now he's snapping his hand maybe a little bit too much, but good enough for a quick go through. All right, cool. All right, so we're running out of time here, so let's see how far we can get. We got this, this, this. Now we got to go back to our first 3 frames. So of these frames, most of the ones at the beginning are just going to be very similar to their, let's turn on onion skin. So it's going to be similar to this, except for we know that we're moving towards this part where we pull back real big. So that's a big change. So his shoulder is from behind the hand all the way to in front of the hand. And so that's, and then the hand itself is turning over. So that's what we're going to try to move towards. So here, let's just get his hand kind of in a, again, the hand centered over the tick. So let's get his hand kind of coming down. So he's got his paddle here, his ball here, the finger is here, the thumb is on the back, and then the wrist is here. And his shoulder is starting to come, so the shoulder is this far away here, right? So we need to get closer. So our shoulder is going to be like coming in like that. And over here, you can see that this shoulder is way up to the level of the hand now. So over here, it's lower. So this shoulder is really going to arc up like this. So we want to just make sure that the shoulder is following an arc, but it's also moving on the path. So just keep in mind that instead of moving it in a straight line like that, probably be better if we kind of swoop down a little bit with it because it's arcing up like that, okay? So let's kind of swoop with that, and then we have his elbow coming in because his elbow comes in a little bit, kind of moving back this way behind him. So let's get his elbow in there, boom, boom. There's our cone, boom, boom, okay? There's our arm, so we got this happening. Now we got another crunch here on 3. So again, we're gonna come around even more. We got our box, we got our ball, we got our hand coming around, our finger coming around. We got his thumb kind of under there, right, like here. Okay, and then wrist, and then even more, we're gonna crunch this shoulder together. And again, it's swooping, so there we go. And then even more, we got this elbow sort of crunching in. Let's just make sure that elbow's about right because we want, no, that elbow's got to be higher. See, it's dumping back down. We don't want that. We want this to flow up like that. So elbow's got to be here. And you just think about these things in, you know, in the simplest way you can because it's, as you can see, it's really complicated. So don't make it more complicated. Just keep it as simple as possible and then add the details later. Don't worry about arm hair at this point or you will die. Okay, so that is coming in here. Let's see if we can finish this. We're just at a 30-minute mark. So one more drawing and then we're gonna have to probably leave it rough until the next episode. So we got one more drawing to make. And you can see this is our biggest change. We're going from here to a big pull. So let's come here. Let's start to think about the hand coming out and bending around. So now we've got the ball in here. We've got the hand and the thumb coming in here, right? Covering up that ball a little bit for the thumb. We got the finger, the index finger wrapping on the ball, and then the 4 fingers that we're drawing just as a mitten. Then we got his wrist coming down here. We know that this is arcing up for the elbow and we know that this is coming in tight. So the shoulder now is starting to move behind and to the other side. And then the elbow is going to come up here and twist around. So we've got, oh, got a little dark there. So we've got our elbow and then it's actually behind the elbow that we're getting the shoulder now. So that's behind here now, right? So even though this would get covered up once we draw the final version, we'll just leave it here because it's construction. We want to see what we're drawing, what we're missing, and just make sure that that elbow stays high enough. Okay, so now we've got, here we come here, boom, 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 boom. So I think that's pretty decent. So we're gonna turn the onion skin off. We're gonna take a look at this, bam. So he's chucking the ball. Now, if this was up to me, and it is up to me because I'm drawing it, I would change this last keyframe, which I don't feel like is perfect, but this motion is happening, right? We got the slow at the beginning, we got the snap in the middle, and then we got a little cushion at the end. We used the exact same timing and spacing as we did with our character's head turn, but now we're doing a ball throw. So you can see, and the whole point of this exercise is I wanted you to see that you can actually do a lot by just planning the motions and having a curve that you follow. Everything runs on a curve. Now, what you really will see, how you'll really see this. How you'll really see this is if you just remove all your guides and then you play it. And if you can feel that curve, especially in here, like right in the middle, right, where that curve is, because we added that blur frame, and then because we had a little bit of anticipation here, you can feel that curve. He's not moving on a straight line, clearly. So if you can remove your guides and you can still feel the curve, then, well, hey, you did something right. Now, these drawings need to be cleaned up, yes, and then the rest of the character's body needs to be drawn in, and so on. But this is how you start. You start with the main motion, the thing that you want people to watch, and then you add the things in later that are less important. So the arm throwing the ball is the most important thing in this little scene. So next time, we'll take a look at some more animation with the same timing and spacing, but yet another path. Okay, so I hope you guys join me. If you have any questions, I know this is pretty confusing stuff sometimes, it's pretty complicated, so put anything that you have in your mind in the comments, and I will talk to you guys later.
Yamsketch.